By all the ancient stars, what are these readings? The Imperial Censor Officer's voice cracked with fear as emergency alarms blared throughout the capital. My lord, these can't be right. Energy signatures are appearing everywhere. Grand. Admiral Vex rushed to the Central Command display, his proud Imperial uniform disheveled in his haste. His third heart nearly stopped as the readings registered. Tens of thousands of warships were materializing simultaneously across Imperial space. Ships of impossible size and power, their dark hulls seeming to drink in the light. Itself. Impossible, he whispered, hands trembling on the console. Their civilization was broken. We destroyed their colonies. These can't be humans. My lord. His censor officer's voice cracked. Energy readings they're beyond our classification scale. A single one of their vessels outputs more power than our entire defense fleet. The massive ships hung in perfect formation, their hulls seeming to drink in the light itself. 5 years ago, the Empire had attacked humanity's colonies, expecting an easy victory over a primitive species. Now, as Vex watched the tactical display light up with more and more signatures, he realized their grave mistake. Sir, they're deploying something. The censor officer paused, horror creeping into his voice. By the ancient stars, fighters, millions of them, the human vessels had opened like blooming flowers of death, releasing swarms of smaller craft that moved with impossible precision. Their formation wasn't just a display of force, it was art, a ballet of potential destruction choreographed to perfection. A transmission cut through every Imperial channel, overriding all encryption. A cold, calm human voice spoke. This is Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Command. 5 years ago, you gave humanity a lesson in cruelty. We've spent every moment since then preparing to return the favor. Vex watched as his best countermeasures tried and failed to get any detailed scans of the human fleet. Their ships seemed to flicker between dimensions, sensor readings sliding off them like water. All Imperial forces, all worlds. You will witness the cost of your arrogance, Chen continued. Your empire taught us that mercy is weakness. Now we will show you what humanity does when it stops holding back. The first wave of human fighters began their advance, their movements synchronized with terrifying accuracy. The Empire's most advanced targeting systems couldn't get a lock. Their best shields were useless against weapons that seemed to bend reality itself. In that moment, as he watched humanity's vengeance unfold with cold, calculated precision, Grand Admiral Vex finally understood. The Empire hadn't broken humanity 5 years ago. They had forced it to evolve. 5 years earlier, the grand halls of the Imperial Council chamber echoed with laughter as Admiral Marcus's report concluded. These humans, High Counselor Venn sneered, barely control 4 worlds. Their largest ships would fit in our auxiliary hangars. The 12 council members, dressed in their ceremonial robes, shared amused glances around the crystalline table. Only Junior Councillor Reed remained silent, his plain grey uniform a stark contrast to the chamber's opulence. My lords, he ventured, our scouts report something unprecedented. They've achieved faster-than-light travel mere centuries after discovering electricity. No other species has evolved so quickly. Enough! Marcus slammed his massive fist down. I've seen their worlds firsthand, primitive, divided. They still wage war among themselves. He turned to Venn, eyes gleaming. Give me 3 destroyers. I'll remind the galaxy of Imperial might. The order was given. The mistake was made. In the darkness of Earth's lunar facilities, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the Imperial destroyers tear through humanity's colonies. As billions died, she documented everything, their weapons, their shields, their tactics. The Empire expected surrender. Instead, they gave humanity a gift, unified purpose. "Begin Phase 1, she ordered, her voice carrying through the underground command center. Across Earth, massive facilities descended beneath the surface. Every factory, every laboratory, every industrial center vanished underground. To Imperial observers, humanity appeared broken, retreating into isolation. They didn't understand what isolation meant to humans. Deep beneath the Mariana Trench, quantum forges came online. In caverns under the Sahara, antimatter reactors powered up. Throughout the asteroid belt, automated mining facilities began harvesting materials at unprecedented rates. Humanity wasn't hiding, it was building. Dr. Chen became Admiral Chen, overseeing the greatest military expansion in human history. Traditional nations ceased to exist as Earth united under a single banner: survival. Every human mind focused on a single goal: evolution through necessity. Imperial scouts reported minimal activity on Earth's surface. They saw what humanity wanted them to see: abandoned cities, minimal power signatures, a defeated civilization. They didn't detect the vast networks spreading through the solar system. They couldn't scan deep enough to find the massive construction projects reshaping humanity's worlds from within. In a hidden facility beneath Europa's ice, Dr. James Martinez made the breakthrough. "Look at their shield frequencies," he explained to Chen, now Fleet Admiral. "They're so focused on stopping kinetic and energy weapons, they never considered phase variants." His team had developed weapons that didn't just penetrate Imperial shields, they ignored the very concepts those shields were based on. 12 months into the preparation, the first prototype ships emerged from the lunar shipyards. They weren't just vessels. They were mankind's answer to Imperial arrogance. Quantum computers guided their systems. Neural interfaces connected pilots directly to their fighters. Each weapon was a testament to human ingenuity, forced to its limits. The Empire's spies reported nothing. Their sensors detected nothing. Their analysts predicted nothing. 3 years in, humanity's transformation accelerated. Cities weren't just underground, they were interconnected manufacturing centers. Every child learned advanced physics alongside history. Every citizen contributed to the war effort, not through conscription, but through shared purpose. Admiral Chen stood in the observation deck of Project Phoenix, watching automated constructors build ships that would make Imperial dreadnoughts look like toys. "Status report," she commanded. "Phase shift weapons are at 300% of projected efficiency." Her aide reported. "The neural network fleet control system is online. Production rates are exceeding all estimates." Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Empire thought they had scattered humanity to the winds. Instead, they had compressed them into a diamond. 4 years after the attack, humanity's first stealth fleets began their silent deployment. Ships that could bend light around their hulls slipped past Imperial patrols. They gathered intelligence, tested defenses, and waited. Each vessel carried weapons that violated physics as the Empire understood it. Each crew had trained in simulators. For thousands of hours, their responses honed to perfection. The Empire's patrol ships never noticed the shadows moving through their sectors. Their best sensors couldn't detect vessels that existed partially out of phase with normal space. Their mighty fleets couldn't track ships that could manipulate gravity itself. In underground cities across Earth, children who had watched their colonies burn grew into warriors who could pilot ships with their thoughts. Scientists who had once worked on climate change now developed weapons that could tear holes in reality. Engineers who had built skyscrapers now constructed vessels that could dance between dimensions. 5 years to the day after the Empire's attack, humanity was ready. Their fleets had already moved into position, invisible and waiting. Their weapons were primed. Their crews were prepared. Every ship, every weapon, every tactic had been tested countless times in secret. The Empire thought they had taught humanity about power. Instead, they had taught them about patience, about preparation, about the strength that comes from absolute unity of purpose. Now, as Admiral Chen gave the order for the first wave of attacks, she remembered watching the colonies burn. The Empire had expected humans to behave like every other species they had conquered, to submit, to surrender, to accept their place. They had forgotten one crucial detail about humanity. We learn from our enemies. We adapt. We evolve. And now, we were about to teach the Empire what that meant. The first strike came without warning. In 15 critical Imperial systems, human stealth ships emerged from their hiding spots simultaneously. They had been waiting for months, gathering intelligence, identifying targets. The Empire's arrogance made it easy. They never thought to look for ships that could bend light itself. On the Imperial shipyard world of Centauri Prime, Admiral Robert Chen, Sarah's brother who had lost his wife on New Eden, watched through his neural interface as 30 human vessels materialized from nowhere. Their mission was simple: destroy the Empire's ability to build warships. All ships, weapons free, he ordered, his voice cold. Remember New Eden. The phase shift cannons fired. Imperial shields might as well have been paper. The massive construction docks simply ceased to exist, their matter scattered across dimensions. 5 years of weapons development had created something the Empire had never imagined possible. In the Nexus system, Commander Wilson's strike team hit their military command centers. The Empire's most advanced detection systems couldn't track the human ships. Their best weapons couldn't touch them. It wasn't a battle, it was a surgical excision. "Sir," Wilson's tactical officer reported, "Imperial reinforcements arriving. 3 destroyer groups." Wilson didn't even blink. "Show them what humanity has learned about warfare." The human ships moved like dancers, their maneuvers impossibly precise. Imperial targeting computers couldn't keep up. The destroyers fired blindly into space, their shots passing harmlessly through areas where human ships appeared to be. Then the phase shift cannons fired again. The Imperial destroyers didn't explode, they simply came apart, their atomic bonds severed by weapons that operated beyond normal space-time. In his command bunker, Grand Admiral Vex received increasingly desperate reports. His mighty fleet was being destroyed by an enemy they couldn't see or fight. His strategic reserves were gone, his backup plans were in ruins. "My lord," a junior officer rushed in, "we're detecting new signals, massive hyperspace disturbances, at the edge of our defense perimeter." Vex felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you mean, massive?" "Sir, it's the main human fleet. These attacks, they were just the advanced force." The Admiral slumped in his chair as the reality hit him. They had thought humanity would break when they destroyed their colonies. Instead, they had created something unprecedented, an entire civilization transformed into a weapon of war. And now that weapon was aimed at the heart of the Empire. In orbit around the capital planet, the crew of Imperial Defense Station 1 watched in terror as their most powerful weapons disappeared into the void, absorbed by invisible human ships. Their sensors couldn't lock onto anything, but they knew they were surrounded. The station commander opened a general frequency. "Please, we have civilians aboard." A cold voice responded. "Like the civilians on New Eden? On Aurora Colony? On New Terra? Did you show them mercy, Commander?" The human ships decloaked. They were beautiful in a terrifying way. Sleek, dark vessels that seemed to drink in the light. Their weapons looked almost organic, pulsing with strange energies that Imperial science couldn't explain. Across Imperial space, military bases went dark. Communication hubs fell silent. Shipyards burned. The Empire had spent 10,000 years building its military might, and humanity was taking it apart in hours. Then on every screen in every Imperial facility, a message appeared in plain Imperial text. You brought this upon yourselves. No terms, no surrender, no mercy. In the background, a countdown appeared, ticking away with mechanical precision. Hi. Councillor Venn stumbled through the golden corridors of the Imperial Palace, his ceremonial robes forgotten for simple combat gear. Behind him, Councillor Reed kept pace, clutching a data pad that displayed the growing catastrophe. 15 systems! Venn shouted in disbelief. They hit 15 systems at once! How is this possible? Before Reed could answer, every screen, hologram, and communication device in the palace flickered to life. The same thing was happening across every Imperial world, on every ship, in every colony. The countdown reached 0. Across Imperial space, massive hyperspace windows began to open. The main human fleet had arrived. The earlier attacks had just been the prelude. In his emergency bunker, Vex watched his worst nightmare unfold. The human ships just kept coming, hundreds, then thousands, then tens of thousands. Each one larger and more powerful than anything the Empire had ever built. How? Venn whispered. How did they build so many? Reed looked at his former colleagues with pity. We forgot the most important lesson in history. Never push someone so far that they have nothing left to lose. We killed millions of their people. We thought they would break. Instead, we gave them a reason to unite, to transform, to become something far more terrible than we could imagine. The human fleet moved into position with mechanical precision. On every Imperial world, citizens looked up to see their skies filled with dark ships that promised judgment. Then a new message appeared on every screen. The Empire taught us that mercy is weakness. Now we will teach the Empire what real strength looks like. Your time has ended. Humanity's time has begun. The real war was about to start. The Imperial capital's sky turned black with ships, not the familiar silver blue of Imperial vessels, but something darker, more menacing. The human fleet stretched beyond sight, each ship a masterpiece of war. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of Earth's Vengeance, humanity's first super dreadnought. At 15 kilometers long, it made Imperial capital ships look like toys. Through the massive viewport, thousands of human warships moved into attack formation. All fleet groups report ready, Admiral, her executive officer announced. The Empire's home fleet is attempting to form a defensive line. Chen allowed herself a small, cold smile. The tactical display lit up, showing nearly 10,000 Imperial warships forming a protective wall around their capital. 5 years ago, such a fleet would have seemed invincible. Now it looked painfully obsolete. Open a channel to all Imperial forces, Chen ordered. Let them see what their arrogance has created. The human ships activated their external lights simultaneously. In the darkness of space, they blazed like angry stars. The Empire's sensors finally got their first clear look at what humanity had built. Each human vessel bristled with weapons that didn't exist 5 years ago. Their hulls were covered in strange, shifting patterns that seemed to swallow light itself. Imperial vessels. Chen's voice echoed across every Imperial channel. You can't win this fight. Your shields can't stop our weapons, your sensors can't track our ships, your tactics are 5 years out of date. Admiral Vex watched in horror as his sensors tried to analyze the human fleet. The energy readings were off the charts. A single human dreadnought had enough power to level a continent. In desperation, Vex made his final move. Deploy the civilian ships, he ordered. Position them between our forces and theirs. Even these humans won't risk killing innocents. Thousands of civilian vessels, passenger liners, cargo ships, private yachts were forced into a defensive wall. Millions of Imperial citizens became unwilling shields for their military. On Earth's vengeance, Chen received the reports of this new development. Her face hardened. "So they hide behind their own people," she said quietly. "Show them how much humanity has learned about precision." The human fleet's movement changed. The massive ships began an intricate dance, weaving through space with impossible grace. Their phase-shift weapons fired in perfectly timed sequences, creating corridors of safety between the blasts. "Activate the gravity tractor beams," Chen ordered. New technology developed in secret reached out to the civilian vessels. One by one, they were gently pulled away from the combat zone, their passengers unharmed. The Empire's human shield strategy fell apart in minutes. A message appeared on every Imperial screen. "We remember the innocence of New Eden. We will not become like you." Then the real attack began. Human ships phased through the gaps in the Imperial formation, appearing inside their defensive lines. Phase shift cannons fired with surgical precision, destroying military targets while leaving civilian structures untouched. Vex watched his tactical display turn red as more and more Imperial assets disappeared, his mighty fleet reduced to running and hiding from an enemy they had dismissed as primitive just 5 years ago. "Launch everything," he ordered in desperation. "Every ship, every weapon, every fighter we have." The Imperial counterattack began. Millions of weapons fired at once, turning space into a storm of energy and destruction. For a moment, it looked magnificent, the full might of the Empire unleashed in one desperate assault. The human fleet didn't even try to dodge. The Imperial weapons struck their targets and passed through them harmlessly. Humanity had mastered phase shift technology so completely that they could make their entire fleet untouchable. "Target their command centers only," Chen ordered her fleet. "Show them the difference between revenge and justice." The human weapons fired. Military installations vanished, command centers collapsed, defense platforms ceased to exist. But not a single civilian target was hit. In his command center, Vex received the final reports. The human fleet had achieved total tactical superiority. Their weapons were unstoppable, their defenses impenetrable, their tactics flawless. The Empire's last stand was over. Now came the moment of judgment. The Imperial Palace's grand throne room fell silent as Admiral Chen walked through its massive doors, her simple black uniform contrasting sharply with the ornate decorations. Behind her, a group of human officers followed, their faces showing neither triumph nor anger. High Counselor Ven and the surviving Imperial leadership knelt in the center of the room, their once magnificent robes now wrinkled and stained. The mighty Empire, which had ruled for 10,000 years, awaited humanity's judgment. "We expect execution," Ven said quietly. "It's what we would do in your position." Chen stopped before them. "That's exactly why we won't do it. We are not you. We never will be." The palace's massive screens lit up, showing scenes from across Imperial space. Human ships were distributing aid to damaged worlds. Medical teams helped injured civilians. Engineering crews repaired critical infrastructure. "Your empire taught us the wrong lesson 5 years ago," Chen continued. "You thought you taught us about power. Instead, you taught us about unity, about innovation, about the strength that comes from working together." A new message broadcast across every Imperial world.